You're listening to Bring Me the Axe. I'm Brian White, one half of this morbid equation, and I'm joined by my co-host and brother Dave. Hey Dave, how you doing?
Ho, ho, ho! Merry holidays! Season's greetings to you! Now, as you can see, I am coming to you from the front lines of the war on Christmas. Happy solstice!
Merry Saturnalia and Festivus. I believe I freaked you out with Saturnalia last time.
Well, it's because it's a word I'd never heard before.
I'm just guessing that this is around Saturnalia. It's just a solstice thing. Oh, yeah.
War on Christmas.
We've almost made it. The campaign is almost through.
Waged this battle.
No. I had another encounter like this, only it wasn't me this time. It was one of my coworkers. He was sitting there, and a guy was grumbling about that. He was like, "All right, yeah, have a great day, and happy holidays." The guy was like, "I think you mean Merry Christmas."
Your coworker said, "No, I meant Happy Holidays."
And he went, and he was like, "Wait," he was like, "What did you say?" And the guy was like, "You can't really say that anymore." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, because everybody's so PC, and everybody's offended now. And he's like, "Do you not hear the song that is playing right now over the speakers? Because it's a Christmas song. It's specifically a Christmas song." He's like, "I hear the word Christmas like 100,000 times a day." He's like, over by the door where you came in, all that seasonal stuff. He's like, "What is it? Christmas. It's all Christmas stuff specifically." He's like, "You can say whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares."
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. Fucking nobody cares.
And the guy walked away, but I was like, good for you. Good for you, man.
Hey, manufactured victimhood is fascinating to me.
It's really, really, really weird. And like it's been like a million years since we worked at the record store. I think I'd been out of retail long enough to forget just how fucking insane people are in the retail space, and like just how bizarre everybody acts, and how like desperate they are to find something to complain about,
and how insanely nihilistic we were in our responses to them.
Well, they gave us a lot of leeway back then, and just how we could handle that. Like, it was also kind of part of the experience when you shopped at that record store that we could just mouth off to people.
It's real sassy employees.
Oh yeah. You came there. You come for the records. You stay for the attitude.
Yeah, at night, not in the morning.
No. The morning record store shoppers were weird, man.
That's true.
Remember that time that you went there and they were all lined up at the door, and you were like, what the hell are you guys here for? And they're like, "We're here for the new Boston record." And you're like, "You better not be fucking."
Oh, that was just a bunch of college kids though. That wasn't morning time though. That was at midnight.
Oh wow.
I don't remember. It was like a release, and I was like, "Okay, well, we got one of them." So, losing to Steely Dan or Moody, we got one of them. Yeah, I am. I'm a little bit. I'm not over Christmas yet, but yeah, I'm getting there.
I hit a spot where I was like, "All right, I think I've had my fill of the holidays.
Yeah.
Let's move this along."
I just feel like I've been like I got fired out of a cannon 3 weeks ago. I haven't paid attention to a goddamn thing.
I mean, maybe I'm just grouchy because I sat in a little tiny hut all afternoon, just freezing my ass off.
Was it a Quonset hut?
Yeah. Well, a bunch of people were like buying last minute Christmas trees,
which is very strange. I mean, I guess it's never too late to be festive. So
no. I mean, they must have been like, "Oh shit, it's fucking Sunday. I got to get a Christmas tree." Or roll down and they hit me up.
I mean, some people take down their tree the day after Christmas. That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Oh no.
That's why I'm saying it.
the day of, my man.
Wow, you don't even wait.
Nope. It's I take great pleasure in that, mostly because the moment we post a picture of it, there's like a dozen people who are like, "What the fuck, you guys?"
I mean, is it like a space issue?
Mostly.
All right. Well, I mean, these decorations take a long fucking time to put up. I wouldn't be so quick to just rip it all down.
Oh yeah, no, they come down. They come down pretty quick.
All right. Well,
yeah. Anyway, Christmas, right?
Some Christmas evil is what that is.
Yeah. Oh, so we practically grew up in neighborhood video stores, and the steady diet of utter garbage that those shops provided us with continues unabated to this day. There's no one else I enjoy chopping it up with more about trashy movies than Dave. Just before we get into it, here's a little housekeeping. If you want to keep up with us between episodes, you can also find us on Instagram at Bring Me the Axe Pod. Dave's over there at That Werewolf. I'm also on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Doing
them dances.
Doing the funky chicken. Doing the electric slide.
Yeah, little pirouette.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tapping my heart out.
Okay. Well, that would be impressive. I would join TikTok for that.
Just to watch me tap dance.
Some tap dancing, some wild tap dancing.
Yeah, look us up by name over there. And if you don't know, we have another show called 99-Cent Rental, where we cover all manner of video store madness on the weeks that Bring Me the Axe is off. Our latest episode covering the 1984 summer blockbuster Christmas movie Gremlins is out now. And we'll be off next week as Bring Me the Axe returns with our 2024 horror movie roundup. You can also contact us directly at bringmetheaxepod@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions. Do let us know if there's a movie that you love and would like to hear us give it the business. And we got a couple of neat little recommendations from people recently.
Well, you better fucking speak now.
That schedule is tight. You got only a couple of spots left before we are like basically booked up.
I keep getting good ideas.
Anyway, if you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can look us up over there at patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. There's a couple of tiers you can join there. Subscribers at the $5 a month tier can look forward to our bi-weekly X-Files Rewatch Pod. Do you think I'm spooky? As well as our monthly Millennium series, as we cover, get an extra Bring Me the Axe. We cover movies made within like the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for us.
It's going to be an experience for everybody.
Yep. And we're kicking it off on January 1 with our episode about I Saw the TV Glow. There's also my bi-weekly DJ show, Radio Free Haddonfield, on the weeks when Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. You can expect a surprising mixtape of everything from rock to disco to punk.
But also the funky chicken and the electric slide. And also the hustle and the bump.
You can do all of those dances to this music.
Yep. YMCA.
Yes. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. And lastly, if you like what you hear, you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube now. Search us by name. Subscribe if you prefer to consume your podcast that way. And you'd be doing us a favor by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So get to it.
It is damn near Christmas. I ask so little.
In the spirit of the holiday, the spirit of Festivus.
In the spirit of the war on Christmas, I am in the trenches.
Fighting that war every day, just facing them down.
Yeah, people are like, oh, Merry Christmas, and I snarl at them. A little bit of foam gathered at the corners of my mouth.
Right. Your 5-star reviews will further fuel that ferocity. And if you listen on YouTube, do us a favor. Give the episode a like, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. Just want to get that all out of the way right at the top of the show. Because here's the trailer.
Oh, my God.
I told you he'd be happy that we remembered him.
This Christmas, Santa's going to make everyone happy. The grown-ups and the kids. Christmas evil. The non-believers.
Watch out!
And the screamers. And this Christmas, you better believe in Santa, or he'll slay you.
Merry Christmas, Frank.
Christmas Evil, the night he dropped in.
Oh, boy.
Shameless.
That is a terrible trailer.
It's terrible because it kind of misrepresents the movie.
Well, yeah, and I think as we talk this out, we're gonna kind of find out that the director, Lewis Jackson, and his producer buddies were very much at odds about what kind of a movie they were making. And ultimately, the producers kind of win out in the end. And I'm sure they made a lot of money off of it. Lewis Jackson certainly didn't.
I don't know about a lot of money.
Definitely not a lot,
they
but
made
I would
some.
guarantee that they certainly recouped their investment and turned a bit of a profit. Because like one of the producers, like one of the EPs on this is Edward Pressman, who's like no slouch. I mean, that's a name you've seen before, and he's behind some big movies.
Phantom of Paradise.
Yeah, but this was a movie that was made specifically to exploit the popularity of Halloween.
Except nobody told Lewis Jackson that.
Well, no, they were like, we'll let you make your stupid movie, but we're gonna turn it out and we're gonna market it how we want. And ultimately, it was bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Except for the viewers, if you can kind of get behind it and understand it, because I adore this movie.
I think it is a decent movie. I think it is weird as hell.
Oh yeah, that's why I love it. Because I'll tell you what, I think we are being charitable when we call this a horror movie.
Yeah. I mean, it is in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, like it's got the tropes, it's got all the moves, but that is definitely not what Lewis Jackson's original vision was for this movie at all. He was doing something entirely different. I think he was personally, I think that he was doing something more like Taxi Driver.
That is exactly what he thought he was doing. I think he had some pretty grandiose ideas about his abilities and the script, maybe. Because Taxi Driver, one of the reasons it's so good is that Travis Bickle is not a Santa Claus. It would be a decidedly less good film if Travis Bickle were in a Santa suit. It would be fucking silly. Much like this movie is.
Let me be silly for a second. It is such a, I don't know. And I think this movie, I only came around to this one last year. Like before last year, I'd never seen it.
Oh, I saw it a couple times. I've seen it a couple times, like in the last 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, I had avoided it for a really long time. I think for the same reasons that we kind of go over in our Silent Night, Deadly Night episode, where I just don't find Christmas a terribly compelling season for a horror movie.
No.
And I find the kind of snickering, like hee we're so naughty kind of thing. I find that so fucking tiresome.
It's exhausting and it's stupid. I am not a fan of novelty shit, which maybe comes as a surprise. But I find these, like, you know how I feel about like trauma movies. Like, either take your shit seriously. You can be campy. You can make a campy movie unintentionally, but like, do what you're doing seriously, even if it is a dumb movie. But to be like, it's Evil Bong, ha ha ha. I'm like, fuck off. I hate you.
Evil Bong is a Charles Band.
I know. I mean, I know we don't like to speak ill of Papa Band, but
Sir Charles Band.
But like trauma movies, I can't fucking stand those movies. It's like, just make
as
a
it would happen,
goddamn
neither
movie.
could Lewis Jackson.
Yep. I told you that's something he and I have in common.
Yeah, very, very angry with the way that his movie was treated by Trauma. Yeah, it's just that, and what's weird now is I was thinking about this is, it seems like of all of the holidays, because of the last, I don't know, 20 years, there's way, way, way more. It's like there's a fucking there's a Christmas horror movie comes out every year, at least one.
Oh yeah, more than one usually.
And I don't know if I care to watch any of them. Like, my opinion of that sort of, Christmas as a horror movie holiday hasn't really changed all that much, even though I have really come around on movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night. And ultimately, when I did eventually melt the ice and watch this one, I loved this one on sight. This isn't even one that I had to had to come around to, probably because at heart, it's not a horror movie.
No. And it's way better than it has any right to be.
It is. It's a weird combination of elements that just happen to work in its favor.
I think the problem is when you set out to make something that is intentionally novel, like shit like Krampus, you either have to be extremely talented enough to pull it off, which is very rare, or it's going to be a dumb joke and it just looks stupid. Like I've been last year and this year pulling together these like Christmas horror, and I swear to God, 3/4 of them, I'm like, these movies are fucking stupid. Like, it is a challenge just to find some that I do not roll my eyes at. And they're
I feel
usually,
like you really pulled it off this year, though.
they're usually just ones that take place at Christmas. Like around, like
sort
they're
of like
not
sort of like in the
centered.
sense that, like, you know how everybody's like, oh, Die Hard's a Christmas movie. It's like, no, Die Hard's a movie that takes place at Christmas.
Right, like Black Christmas is not an incredible movie because it takes place, or because it is a Christmas movie. It's not about Christmas. It just happens to take place at Christmas because it serves the plot in certain ways.
Right, because I watch, like, again, I watch that one every year. I watched it just the other night. It is alarming how little Christmas has to actually do with that movie.
Right, it is only there to explain why no one is around.
Right.
Or why they disappear. Nobody thinks much of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could have taken place any time in the winter. This one is specifically about Christmas, and it's a tough call because it's like I got a lot of questions that are not going to get answered, but it is sort of integral to the plot.
Yeah.
But they're not being, it's not like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing. I guess it's that. That's the thing I fucking hate. Wasn't there like, it's funny, isn't it? It's like, no, don't tell me what's funny.
No, but that's like the thing is in a way, and again, it's that tug of war between the director and the producers, where for the producers, it really was that kind of wink nudge, kind of like we're perverting this sacred holiday kind of thing, where for him, it's all kind of a part of the story.
I don't sell you my war on Christmas.
Yeah. So you want to run it down? Here's here's some facts.
What other choice do we have?
None. So the year was 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Year of our Lord. It was a good year. I would say that 1980 is our sort of second place.
You mean like
wheelhouse
for horror or for America? Because if it's the latter, I'm going to have to say otherwise.
No, it's all been downhill since 1776, man.
That's true.
Yeah. No. So here's I did this just recently with a movie that we did set in 1982. I'm gonna do it again in 1980. See if you can notice a pattern here. Other movies released that year. Friday the 13th was released in 1980.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. It's a fine movie. The Fog was released in 1980.
Love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maniac was released in 1980.
I feel like I've seen all of these. We didn't say the last 2 years.
Yep. New Year's Evil was made in 1980.
That's a good one.
Yep. And rounding it out, The Watcher in the Woods was released in 1980.
That's not a good one.
Now, you see what I did there, though?
You ended with a crappy one.
No. These are all movies that we did.
They are all movies that we did, yes.
Yeah, go back and listen to those episodes.
Most of those episodes are actually pretty good.
I would say so. Yeah, my Maniac episode, I tell the storied tale of the weird beef I've had for like 20 years or 30 years at this point, near on with Tom Savini. So
Hey, what you ought to do is you got to revive that.
I know. I mean, I'm sure by this point he's over it, and I keep bringing it up because I just secretly want to cultivate that beef again.
Yeah,
It's just have this weird rivalry.
No such thing as bad press.
Nope.
I'll say something offensive to him right now.
All right. So our cast and crew includes a director that we keep mentioning, Lewis Jackson, an absolute enigma.
Yeah.
I did so much fucking digging to just find anything I could about this guy biographically, because he has made like 3 movies. He made a movie called Deviants.
Yep.
He made a movie called The Transformation, Sandwich of Nightmares.
Yeah, I want to see that movie real bad.
I want to see it so bad. A
cult.
title like that, how can you not?
A Sandwich of Nightmares.
And he made this one. And his first movie came out in 1970. Sandwiches of Nightmares was in 74. This one is in 1980, and then he is done with movies.
So there's like the Deviants. There's it's a grindhouse movie from, I don't know, early 70s maybe. I don't know if it's the same movie though. It's like a kind of a sexploitation thing.
Oh, it might have been. He was a young guy. He was getting into film. That's how a lot of these guys. That's the usual vector for a lot of these guys.
So what I know about him, because I found some interesting stuff, but it's not really about him specifically. He was like grew up, I think, in New York, filmmaker, went to film school, was considered kind of avant-garde. Like he was I don't know if he considered himself an experimental filmmaker, but there is one article I found that referred to him as a highly regarded experimental filmmaker. And it's like, that's a weird thing to say for someone who has made 2 movies, one of which is called Nightmare Sandwich. So
yeah. Yeah. But from the sort of various bits and pieces that I could turn up, because like there's a bunch of interviews with him on YouTube from recently that sort of coincide with the Vinegar Syndrome release
yeah,
of this
what's
movie.
that? 2014, 2015?
That was 2014. And like some sort of more recent screenings of it elsewhere, like they'll have him in do Q&A and stuff. So I kind of was able to sort of piece together a picture based on that, and like some really, really old newspaper articles from like some old Pittsburgh newspaper.
Oh, I got that one.
But basically, the image that I got was he he had weird ideas about making movies.
Mm-hmm.
His ideas were just too weird for Hollywood, and so he never really meshed with the way, in a sort of commercial sense, and the studios weren't really interested in what he was selling them. But at the same time, like he could not work with the people who would work with him, like the exploitation producers, because they would take his movies and then turn them into something else. It just he got kind of beat up in just like that 10 years of the 70, like 1970 to 1980, and eventually was like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here.
Which I get it, I guess.
Yeah, like everything that I've seen, he's generally generally in good spirits about this stuff, but there is a bitterness to him about the way that he talks about like the production of this movie that I kind of like. In most other filmmakers, I'd be like, just kind of like, yeah, come on, man. Just like, I think it's time to get over it. But in this guy's case, I feel like this bitterness is earned, particularly just because of the way this movie was handled.
But also, I wonder how much of that is he, again, had maybe some pretty grandiose thoughts about what he was making, and everyone else was like, dude, it's a killer Santa movie. Like, you gotta lighten up a little bit. This is a bonkers script. It's not a particularly well-written movie. One of the things that really saves it is some decent acting. And
Bryan Maggart is amazing.
Yeah, and he's a competent director, so it's fine. But like the way that he talks about it in some of these articles I was reading is just like, he doesn't really think of it as it's a slasher movie. And obviously it's not really a slasher movie, but like he thinks it's more like a universal horror movie. I'm like, okay, easy there, Lewis Jackson. But like, he says it's about the myth of Santa Claus as he was known in the 19th century. He was regarded then as a moral arbiter, a figure to denote good and bad. He also says it's like a fairy tale. Its approach incorporates violent and lovely things. If one thinks about fairy tales, you can see that horrible and fantastic things happen to them. I'm sorry, what are the lovely things that are in this movie?
his love, the innocence of children.
Yeah, there's this kind of like overinflated sense of what you're doing when it's like, again, you're making a killer Santa movie, so maybe reel it in. So that's why I think maybe like sometimes it's like people like what's his name, the guy who made Beaver Trilogy.
Yeah, Trent Harris. They
become sort of disillusioned because like people don't really get them, and then they're like they try to change them in ways that is sort of untenable, and so they kind of bail because of that. And I think in other cases when people sort of disappear, it's because nobody wanted to work with them anymore because they were just horrible and insufferable. And you can get by if you're like super famous. If you're like Steve Jobs, who's a notorious piece of shit, and yet he still manages to be who he was. Or like, Steven Spielberg's not really a notoriously bad person, but like the only way you survive is if you already have a ton of power.
Sure.
And so if you're just Lewis Jackson, avant-garde extraordinaire, nobody really gives a shit. And they're probably like, nah, fuck this guy. He's too much trouble. He thinks he's a fucking genius. Don't do it. He's a pain in the ass. Like, I feel like there's usually a couple reasons why, and that's usually the one why people just sort of stop working in places.
Yeah. No, I mean, the impression that I got from all the stuff that I read was he was just disillusioned with the entire thing. Filmmaking was not what he was sort of anticipating it to be. And I think he was young enough at this point that he could still, he still had like latitude to kind of walk away from it and do something else. And all I'd seen was he said, like, after this, I just did a ton of writing. And it was like, what did you write, though? Because I can't find anything.
I mean, this is when you could get by in New York on like fucking $2 a week and a sandwich. A sandwich of evil.
Yeah. Sandwich of nightmares. Yeah. So our cast, primarily one guy.
Fiona Apple's dad.
It's Fiona Apple's dad, Bryan Maggart. He carries this entire movie with everybody around him playing more or less just bit parts. Maggart was primarily known for stage, having multiple Tony nominations with occasional roles in productions filmed around New York. He had a recurring role in the first season of Sesame Street.
Weird.
And I've seen those bits too. They're cute. And he also had a long running role on Showtime on a sitcom called Brothers that apparently ran for 5 years.
Brothers is particularly important in sort of queer history, gay history specifically. It was one of the first American shows. Like it is a sitcom, but it's like in the same way that like Dream On was a sitcom. Like it's not like Full House. It's a very adult oriented show. It was like the first one that dealt directly with gay characters in a way that wasn't like, they didn't really traffic too much in stereotypes. There were like really powerful topics. Like there's an episode where like the main character, he's the one, there's three main characters, but one of them is gay. And the whole, like the series basically revolves around him like coming out. And like him and this guy he's on a date with get gay bashed, and they go to the police, and the police like refuse to help them. There's an AIDS episode, obviously. Well, there's a couple AIDS episodes. I've only seen the first 2 or 3 seasons. It did go on for like 5 or 6 seasons, I think.
84 to 89.
It was also, I think, the first cable show that got sold into syndication at the same time that it was on.
Oh, no shit.
Which was, I gather, kind of like considered a little tacky if you're like a pay channel.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, because your content is premium and people are paying for it. Yeah.
So it's very dated if you watch it now, but it is significant and it is important for that reason.
No shit.
And he was one of the main characters.
Yeah. We've also got Jeffrey DeMunn, most recognizable as Dale in The Walking Dead, or more recently on the show Billions,
or any fucking Stephen King television adaptation.
Yeah. Basically, he's a Frank Darabont regular. Mm-hmm. Previously appeared in our episode about The Hitcher. This one represents one of his earliest film roles. Even among the principal casts, he's hardly in the movie.
And he's weird. He's a weird character, and he plays it very strangely.
He is off the fucking chain the entire movie.
Like Brandon Maggart's character is supposed to be the crazy one, but woo, you wouldn't think so.
His hair is constantly like wild, and he's like sweaty and panicked the whole time.
And he's always
because
like
his brother is acting crazy.
Yeah, but he's like flying off the handle all the time.
Yeah. Even by this time in his career, he'd been a Shakespearean actor in like 2 touring productions. So like, he's no slouch.
I got the feeling that a lot of the people in this movie knew each other from something, because a lot of them are in
I would imagine
movies together.
It was a movie that was shot around New York and New Jersey. And it's like all of those movies that we cover that are in that, where it is a comparatively much smaller pool of talent, and they're all coming from the stage.
Well,
or
and
they're coming from commercial production.
It's probably a non-union movie.
Yep.
So that's probably why there are a lot of stage people in it, because they're not SAG actors.
Yeah.
But like a bunch of them were in. Well, actually, they probably would have been SAG actors at that point. But like a bunch of them were in like Dressed to Kill together.
Yeah.
Even in like really small roles. A bunch of them were in. Is it World According to Garp?
Yep. Brandon Maggart's in that one also.
Mm-hmm. He's
also in Dressed to Kill.
Yep.
But we've also got Diane Hall. Mm-hmm. She plays his brother's wife. She's like the only other character who's in the movie for more than a couple of minutes. Her career was mostly on film and television, comparatively short when contrasted with the rest of the film's cast. This role falls late in her career, even though she's a young woman in this one. She eventually turns to the Lee Strasberg Institute, where to this day she continues to teach method acting.
How about that?
Yeah. Alumni from that program includes some pretty high-profile actors like Steve Buscemi, Terry Garr, Christoph Waltz, and Tracy Lords.
Goddamn. Get it, Tracy Lords. I got a lot of respect for her.
I know, right? An interesting detail that kept appearing in biographies of her, because she was another one that I struggled to sort of like find any kind of detail about. But the one that constantly, mostly because people are just like, what the fuck, is she's very heavily invested in cryonics research.
Weird. Just like she's just an enthusiast.
Her mother's head is actually preserved in one of those labs.
Okay. What are they going to do with it?
Well, in the future, you see, they'll be able to bring people back from the dead.
Okay.
And when they do, they'll thaw her head out and they'll put it on a robot body and bring her back to life, and she'll have her mom again.
Well, that sounds insane.
I know. It is amazing what you can do with significant amounts of money and a crippling fear of death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most people just turn to Christianity, but hey, this one seems less deadly.
I know. The rest of the cast is a mix of low-budget actors who more or less go nowhere after this movie, with actors who pop elsewhere later on. The woman who plays Harry's mother at the beginning is a woman named Ellen McElduff. First of all, she is 16 years old in this movie, playing those kids' mother.
Which is insane, because she looks like she's about 45.
It's, you know what it is? It's that weird hair she's got going on. But also, she's the We Made You actor from Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
The woman who gets shot and like gets cut by the evil knife.
Mm-hmm.
Moss Garcia's mother is played by Patricia Richardson.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The fucking Home Depot, Home Improvement. What's that show called?
Home Improvement. The one that we keep talking about on fucking Do You Think I'm Spooky?
Yeah.
Among other dumb sitcoms. Mark Margolis, who is most recognizable to modern viewers as Hector Salamanca from Breaking Bad, has a really small non-speaking role.
He's also in Oz.
Yep. And Britannia, Mommy Dearest Alda, also has a small role in this.
She doesn't. She barely says anything. If she says anything at all, she's like unrecognizable.
Yeah. But we keep. If you haven't listened to our Amityville 2 episode, don't listen to our Amityville 2 episode. We keep calling her Mommy Dearest in that one. That's where that comes from, because she's also a Mommy Dearest.
She is.
Yeah, but it's such a weird cast. As the principals in this movie, with the exception of Bryan and Maggart, don't really do much. I mean, Jeffrey DeMunn, but like all of the sort of main players are just people who go on to do like nothing, and then all of these people who just sort of pop into the frame for like a second are people who as characters in other shows now.
Did you see the alternative casting for this?
I know that at one point George Zunza was supposed to play the lead, but apparently he shows up on set or rather started like coming to like cast meetings with like notes on how to rewrite the script, and they were like, no, get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the Lewis effect. It was also for the role of Philip could have been Michael Beck.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Glenn Close.
Yes, that's right. Oh God, there's one.
Kathleen Turner.
I'm sure
Jo Beth
Kathleen
Williams?
Turner was the one that I was thinking of. Jo Beth Williams.
Mm-hmm. This is the same year they made. Isn't this the same year as Poltergeist is 82, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yep. Right. Oh, we get some taglines here.
Mm-hmm.
And they suck, man. Here's one. This Christmas, you better believe in Santa, or he'll slay you.
Boo!
Oh, good God, I know. Here's another one. Better watch out. Better not cry, or you may die.
I feel like that needs another syllable.
It does. It's wonky. And then the last one. The night he dropped in.
Theft. Straight up theft. I don't like it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like the night he came home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the original script title was called Santa. And when it went into production, it had changed to You Better Watch Out. Which is
arguably a better title.
Yeah, but like I think all the modern versions of it actually have the title card You Better Watch Out, despite the fact that it's labeled Christmas Evil on all the packaging. Producer Edward Pressman retitled to Christmas Evil.
And Pressman is listed as a presenter, which is a very weird old word.
Yeah.
It's like an archaic term for a producer.
Yeah, it's like old Hollywood style where it
Yeah.
was like, you didn't get excited about directors or actors. You got excited about who the producer was.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Carl Laemmle Jr. production.
Yeah. So he's Edward R. Pressman, not to be
Yeah.
confused with all the other Edward Pressmans.
I know. Apparently Jackson did not know that the movie had been retitled until like he saw a one sheet for it in a movie theater and was just like, God damn it.
He wanted to call it Santa?
No, he wanted to call it You Better Watch Out.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. But he'd been working on this script for like a decade, and the original version was just called Santa. And then when it had been sold, because like the only reason that he struggled to get this movie made was just because people would look at the script and were like, I don't understand what you're trying to do here. And then Halloween comes out. They're like, oh, okay, we can make money off of this if we make it a horror movie. And so he rewrites it. It turns into a much more of a killer Santa movie. Gets retitled to You Better Watch Out.
I would argue he also maybe didn't understand what he was trying to do. This movie does not make a lot of sense.
No.
Like it has a core, it's very clear, like, oh, it's a guy who's like Santa obsessed a little bit for reasons, and he starts to unravel, but you never really know why.
No.
You don't see an inciting incident. You don't see there's no backstory.
It sets it up in a way that I think a lot of these movies do, where there's this like bizarre opening scene that we'll talk about.
You mean Sexy Santa?
Yeah, but like I can't tell if that's supposed to be like this traumatic incident or something like that kind of sets the course for the rest of his life. Because the rest, like the way that he sort of comes to sort of understand Santa has nothing to do with that opening scene.
No, and the whole, like his brother is just like, oh, he's such a loser. He's always been a loser. He doesn't look like a loser. He's a fucking manager at a toy manufacturer. Like, that's a respectable job.
Right.
I mean, he seems a little insane, but
yeah.
Hey,
like I was saying, written in 1970, Jackson revised it for a decade while trying to get it into production. It wasn't until the success of Halloween that producers saw the potential for a horror movie set at Christmas. And even then, we're being kind of generous in calling it a horror movie. According to Jackson, every producer that read the script in the wake of Halloween had designs on making it more of a body count movie than what it is. Retitling Christmas Evil and You Better Watch Out and positioning it, retitling it to Christmas Evil and You Better Watch Out, positioning it as a slasher, ultimately worked against it and vanished into the land of lost VHS tapes until years later, until Troma picked it up for nothing. And when the studio that was holding it at the time closed down, liquidated their assets, like they got it for like nothing.
Yeah.
And I believe they brought him in to consult and made all kinds of promises to him. He's really sort of vague and evasive about this.
He's very cagey about this, and he describes it in very odd terms, where he says they got the rights in a fire sale, and he means like a literal, like the building burned down, and he was like, they just walked in and whatever they could grab off the floor. I'm like, that's not how licensing works.
No.
Like, I get the feeling like he did not like the way that they handled the release and the promotion. And so he kind of like describes it in these very bizarre terms. That's like, that is not at all what happened.
Yeah. Also, that also came from sort of modern interviews that I've read with him. And I don't know if you watched any of those. His body language is really weird in those interviews, where he like slouches really, really low in whatever chair or sofa he sits in, and his like arms kind of like hover above him as he talks. I kind of got the impression that he might have had a stroke at some point, the way that he kind of conducts himself. So who knows where this movie lives in his head. It was also released under the title Terror in Toyland at one time.
Which again, arguably a better title.
Yep. It languished as a real minor league curiosity until the 2006 Synapse released with John Waters' commentary, where he proudly declares it the greatest Christmas movie ever made. Pretty consistent with John Waters.
Mm-hmm.
Waters championed this movie for years, which inevitably led to broader re-examination of the movie, culminating in the 2014 Vinegar Syndrome release. I don't know what it is. This year in particular seems like it reached kind of like a critical mass where all of a sudden everybody is covering this movie. Like we are like one of like fucking 20 podcasts putting an
'Cause
episode out. This
Everybody's
week or last week
clamoring
about
for
it.
like Christmas horror. What's some Christmas horror that we can talk about? It's like, well, there aren't any because it was a stupid idea.
I know.
So-
next Christmas, no Christmas horror movies coming from us.
I don't think I haven't gotten that far.
Yeah, I
but-
can't even hold to that because we probably will. My favorite detail when they premiered it in Pittsburgh is they did it with a double feature with the Elephant Man.
Nice. I also saw another one where it was a double feature with Scream and Scream Again. Which is a
That'd be fucking great, man.
Strange choice. What I think is weird is that at the same time that Pressman was producing this movie, he was also producing The Hand, which was starring Michael Caine and directed by Oliver Stone. What a weird contrast.
Uh-huh.
I mean, The Hand is not a good movie, but you can see like where their priorities probably were.
Yeah.
And it was not this movie, even though like his family, Pressman's family, like donated a bunch of their like toys and
Yeah,
bunch
and
of, like,
the
set.
Jolly Dream Toy Factory is the Pressman Toy Factory in New Jersey. And then when they saw it, they were like, holy shit. You guys need to put a disclaimer on this that we had no part in this.
No, his mother insisted that it was, what did it say? This is not the typical image of toy manufacturers. And it's like, yeah, lady, nobody thought it was.
Yep. My personal favorite detail of the whole thing, which makes me think that he really was sort of like an artsy fartsy filmmaker, is that cinematography on this was done by this guy named Ricardo Aronovich. And he was DP on a bunch of just arty Euro movies. He worked with Jean Moreau, Alan Rene, Andrei Zawowski, like real dudes. And Jackson flew out to Vienna, where Aronovich was living at the time, to pitch him the script and storyboards personally. And the guy was like, sure, I'll come and do this. I'll come to America and make this fucking movie with you.
And then he got here and he was like, Jesus Christ, what have I done?
I know. He's like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. This movie went like notoriously way over budget. Like a part of, like, I think really at the core of Jackson's gripes is, in order to get more money from the producers, he had to sacrifice his points on it. So in the end, he like made nothing off of this movie.
Yeah, it's like, what if someone let Kenneth Anger make a feature film? Did Kenneth Anger make incredible short films? He sure did. But that's all that he can do.
Yeah.
Because he's a weirdo who is a little bit narcissistic.
A little.
Yeah, well. A lot.
Yeah, what's more, producer Bert Kleiner had previously been a producer on Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain.
Weird.
Just a bizarre soup of filmmakers here.
It has a lot of like, where the fuck did you find these people to it?
Yeah. But I'll tell you, that cinematographer really makes it happen on this, especially at the end of the movie as things are starting to really spiral out for Harry. You gotta give props to the set decorator too. The snow in this movie, it's all
Chef's
plastic.
Kiss. Yeah, you can see it's sheets of fabric actually.
Yeah, that part at the end where Jeffrey DeMunn like falls down the hill and just like takes the sheets
whole
of fabric
sheet
with him. Yeah. Were you able to find any reviews of this?
No.
None?
I tried.
Not even the Variety one?
Nope. I dug. I mean, there are newer ones, like, but contemporary ones.
Yeah, contemporary ones are what we're interested in. I'm sure that there's a ton of like fawning modern ones.
Yeah,
I have heard in sort of generalities, like this movie reviewed poorly, except for Variety, which gave it a very good review.
I would guess that there probably weren't a lot of reviews for it. Period. Like nobody would. Well,
yeah, the release was botched. I know that the reason that this movie kind of languished in obscurity is because the producers were like, we want a horror movie, and they marketed it like it was a horror movie. And so what few horror fans did get out to see it, watched it, and were like, this is not what you sold us.
Well, they marketed it as a psychological thriller. And again, I don't even really think it's that.
It's not even that. It's not even that. No, this is a character movie. It's really what it is. Yeah. I read some detail that like the movie's release in California, like really kind of just sucked because something about the MPAA giving them a hard time about the posters that were being made. And I was like, I don't think the MPAA has any rule over the posters or the marketing of your movie.
Yes, they do, I think, but not in a big way. Not in a way that, like, I think that would be a deal breaker.
Huh.
It might just be like the Silent Night, Deadly Night thing where it's like you can't show Santa Claus killing people because it's Jesus' birthday.
True. Yeah. Man, they've been waging the war on Christmas forever, haven't they?
I am a warrior in a long line of warriors.
It's a never-ending campaign against.
You can't even say Merry Christmas anymore.
You can't. Well, I mean,
Happy
now
Hanukkah.
You can. Now you can, because I'm so glad we can say Merry.
Well, in Trump's America, yeah, you can.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
Fucking hell.
I know. So you wanna dive in here?
There's a sexy Santa Claus to be spoken of.
There certainly is.
You know I'm in.
All right, so we open on Christmas Eve, 1947, in the idyllic suburbs of New Jersey.
Ew.
In VO, someone reads "'Twas the night before Christmas" as a family watches the living room from the steps. Santa Claus drops into the house from the chimney and helps himself to the elaborate spread left for him by the tree.
Feet first down the chimney. He obviously didn't hear about Phoebe Cates' father and grandmother's. He just slides right down.
That right there is proper chimney entry, right? 10 out of 10, no notes. Great job, Santa Claus.
And they got the kids sitting there, like the mom and the kids are sitting on the stairs. And one of the kids, who I think is supposed to be Harry, looks absolutely shell-shocked. Like he is just staring off into the middle distance like he will never be the same again.
No, he has seen some shit at this point.
Yeah.
But Santa Claus it's not just like a spread of milk and cookies. It's like a little bowl of water to wash his hands and dry his hands off with
hot
a
towel.
There's I believe it's like caviar that they left out for him. Like this was some primo shit.
Santa quite famously loves cookies, milk, and caviar.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to convey is the way that Harry sees Santa is this very fantastical, idealized version of the story. But again, you're not going far enough to sell that to me. It just looks like their dad just jumped down the fucking chimney feet first, didn't break his ankles, and then is eating caviar in the living room. Later on, he's going to fuck their mom.
Yeah, there's a detail way into the movie later on that has to do with sort of why something about Santa Claus and is linked to the state of New York, and it has something to do with Washington Irving's book about New York history. But the thing that is kind of curiously left out, and I only know this because I fucking looked it up while I was researching, is that his Washington Irving's history of New York book that kind of, really kind of creates the Santa myth as we know it in America was a fucking joke book that he wrote. It was like a satire and shit.
Yeah.
And so all of this hinges on this one obscure detail that is not in the movie at all.
What do you mean to tell me that white Americans have misunderstood something profound about history?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of our thing,
I won't
right?
believe it. I refuse to believe
it. Wake up, man. I'm hitting you with the truth. Yep. So when the kids laugh at the sight, he touches his nose and vanishes up the chimney.
Nuts.
Yeah. In their room, one of the brothers taunts the other, telling them that Santa was really his dad.
And these kids have got some fucking sleepaway camp level accents.
Yes, they do.
Push you in the water.
Yeah. So Harry goes down for another look, spots Santa down in the living room again, sensually feeling up his mom.
Yeah, it's one of those classy movies, where Santa had sex with the mom.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night, but gentle. Silent Night, Gentle Night.
Yeah. Santa Claus is a sensual lover in this one.
And mommy couldn't help but ruin Christmas because she had to fuck a guy in a Santa suit. I don't want to kink shame. That's his fault for coming downstairs.
Hey, if you're into fucking Santa, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, fuck as many Santas as you can.
Yep. Kid runs away up into the attic crying. He smashes a snow globe, remembering what he saw. He picks up a piece of broken glass and cuts his hand with it.
Now, listen, if this is the way that this child is choosing to react to this situation, He is already a deeply troubled boy.
Oh, I know. His first impression is just like self-harm. I'm just gonna cut it out over here. Good
like
God.
Santa, I think Santa maybe got to him first.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh boy. In the present, the young boy, now a grown-ass man, Harry Stadling, wakes up in a house full of Christmas shit.
Yeah, just wakes up sleeping in a Santa suit. There's nothing strange or psychotic about that.
Nope, he's got Santa PJs, does some light calisthenics to the song Winter Wonderland. He is utterly obsessed with Santa Claus. His place is like decorated elaborately with Christmas shit.
And listen, I don't want to sound judgy, but based on his decor, his manner of dress, his behavior, I'm going to say that Harry might be a danger to society. And he hasn't even hurt anybody yet.
I know. He is just a ticking clock.
He is a giant red Christmas flag.
Yeah. He is this goes beyond enthusiasm into just pure mania and obsession. Yeah. He applies a thick layer of shaving cream like a beard.
Yeah, it reminds me of that scene from Pee-wee's Playhouse, Mad Dog.
He stuffs a red drape around him with pillows to look like Santa. And then we smash cut to Harry with a pair of magnifying glasses.
Now, hey, another thing about this, it turns out that my assumptions were quickly confirmed because we see Harry spying on children with a pair of binoculars.
I know, but this is the thing it's like no matter how you fucking portray this is creepy shit. Like criminal shit that he's doing. But like in his head, he's just like, I'm making sure the boys and girls are being good. There's like there's nothing sinister underneath it. There's no sexual component to it. He is literally just making sure they're being good.
Yeah, but also he does turn out to be a dangerous person. So,
oh yeah, 100%. So, I mean, it is a net loss altogether.
Damn.
Yeah. He takes note of all the kids he sees. You're supposed to think that he's some pervert looking in windows. You can make an argument that what he's doing isn't much better, but he knows a couple of the kids being good, and then he spots Moss Garcia cutting naked ladies on a Penthouse magazine.
And I like the look on Moss Garcia's face is, I've seen better. He's like an 8-year-old boy.
Here's the thing, guys. We're going to see a bit more of Moss Garcia. I definitely get the feeling that he spends a lot of time looking at nudie mags.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. So yeah, Harry, like just enraged, rushes back to his apartment.
I fucking love the way that every time Harry gets upset, he scampers off somewhere.
Yeah.
Like in this bizarre, like, it's like cantering. I don't even know what you call it.
He runs like a goblin.
Yeah, he's
like however you imagine a goblin running, that's how he runs.
Yeah, what if what's the thing, Gollum from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah,
what if he walked upright? It's like that. That's how he would walk. Or run, rather.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, he gets a huge ledger noting what he saw. Keeps a running log of all the shit these kids do.
Nothing crazy about that. And
not at all. Not at all. There's that one little girl in the neighborhood, and his note is just adorable.
Yeah, see, I don't like that. But on Moss Garcia's page, negative body hygiene. I don't even know what that means.
He's gotten close enough to smell Moss Garcia.
See, and these kids are like 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Harry works at Jolly Dream factory, which manufactures toys.
Well, you used a real weird pause there.
I know.
Jolly Dream factory.
Yep. Factory manufactures toys. Real shitty toys too.
Yeah, my note actually says these toys look incredibly boring.
They fucking suck. But that is kind of the point. That's his complaint, is they don't make good toys no more. Okay,
this is 1980 though. I don't know what Harry thinks good toys are, but I don't think they're the same standards as everyone else in 1980.
No. On his lunch break, he lectures his coworkers about the value of a well-made toy, which no one seems interested in manufacturing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess what he wants is to make America something.
There is a nostalgia in him that is dangerous.
Yeah. Pathological, you might say.
There's rumors of layoffs, and he's easily pushed around by his coworkers. Harry was also recently promoted to an office position, but he misses the manufacturing line.
And then this fucking dude comes in and like takes a bite of his sandwich.
Oh yeah, that guy, he steamrolls him.
Who's
so
this fucking
hard.
slob? Is this a power move? Who does that?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's the office. He's the company bully. Yeah, one of his coworkers laments how he hates Christmas, which will soon surely doom him later on.
In a hilarious way.
In his dingy office, Harry receives a call from his Christmas-hating coworker who bulldozes him into covering his night shift for him.
And it's the same guy who eats his sandwich.
Yeah, same guy. Harry rolls over without much protest, but is clearly bummed about it. When his office shift ends, he heads out to second shift to work the line. So now, on his way home, Harry stops by the Odd Couple Lounge and looks in the window. He does a lot of looking in windows. He's a peeping Tom, isn't he?
He is a voyeur.
A voyeur.
It's French.
That's how you know it's fancy. He's a fancy peeping Tom.
That's right.
Yeah. He looks in the window where he sees the very guy whose shift he was covering bragging about getting Harry to cover for him.
And
Conspicuously
what are
not
the
with
odds?
his family.
What are the odds that he happens to sidle up to the window right as this guy is like, and then this fucking schmuck. Harry is extremely creepy. And then he gets so upset that he scampers off again.
He scampers off, barely containing his rage. In his apartment, he grabs a figure from some sort of dollhouse he keeps there.
Nothing weird about that.
Nope, not at all. He's, you know who he reminds me of? Have you ever heard of Henry Darger?
No.
He's you must have. He's the guy. He was like a janitor in I believe in like a school or something like that. And when he died, they found that he had been basically writing this like really
yes, I do.
long,
I do know who he is. Yes.
And he was like obsessed with like the neighbor, like little girls in the neighborhood and stuff like that, but kind of like this guy in a way that was like, if you look at it a certain way, you'd be like, oh shit, what a creep. But
100% guarantee you that man was a pedophile.
Good God. But yeah, there's a lot of that happening because like, I can't really think of any other reason why this guy's got this like DIY dollhouse in his place.
Well, he also has so he's sitting on the couch and behind him on the wall, there's 3 pictures. One of it's like his nephew's. One of them, I think, is his sister-in-law.
And the other is that girl.
Well, one of them, that's who it is. It's the girl. And then the other is Jeffrey DeMunn, his brother. In the photo, it looks like it was like taken maybe by a casting agent, like when they were casting the movie. Like his hair's wild and it's like a white background. Like it either looked like a casting agent photo or like a photo that someone takes right before they kill themselves on live television. Like he looks wild. He looks crazy.
Every scene in this movie looks like someone's last known photo.
It is insane.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the one you chose to put on the wall? Take a better picture, man.
Yep. And this is the neighborhood girl that I was obsessed with, and this here is my brother. He is mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's humming "Santa Claus is coming to
this
town."
Here is my brother, Bud Dwyer. Right before, well, you know, we call it the event.
Yep. Santa Claus is coming to town. You better watch out. Works himself into a real lather until he crushes the figure. So now he heads over to his brother's place, watches the family through the window again. His brother plays with his kids, seems to have quite a nice life there. Harry also witnesses the couple fooling around on the couch, which he tries not to watch, but he can't help himself.
Which again, creepy as hell, man.
Yeah.
And basically, Phillips, he's fine until the subject of his brother comes up and he's just like, oh, I hate his love of Christmas so much.
Yeah, he is so bummed by the fact that he's sort of like his brother's keeper.
And yet this is another failure of the movie in that we don't understand why.
Right. This is a very underdeveloped part of the story because like maybe in other cuts, because this was a much longer movie. I think on the Synapse disc, starting with that, like there is something like an hour of like deleted footage.
Jesus.
This movie mostly focuses on Harry, and everybody else kind of feels just sort of like incidental. Nobody's in the movie for very long. It's always just him. But in earlier versions of the movie, I think that they were like subplots that were much better developed. That would probably sort of explain their relationship a little bit better. But we'll never get that.
But like the thing, the obvious comparison is Taxi Driver, because it is a movie about a man who is sort of slowly unraveling. And in Taxi Driver, we understand, we know that he's crazy, and we understand what sort of sets him off and how it culminates in this like explosion of violence. We get it from beginning to end. It's a very well written movie. I have a lot of personal thoughts about the people who made it, but it's an extremely well written and extremely well made film. In this one, all of the important things that would make me understand what's happening have just been taken out.
See, that's the thing. And again, I'm going to go back to that thought about the movie that he made versus the movie that was released, because he did not cut the movie. The producers did.
Right.
And so all of the shit that would have made this a kind of would have given you a narrative that was sort of consistent in the same way that Taxi Driver is just yanked out in order to sort of get to the violence, and even then it takes about an hour before this movie gets violent.
And like, it's still gonna be silly because it's Santa Claus.
Well, sure. I mean, it's not meant to be like a dramatic, like hardcore.
But that's the thing is, I think
this is a black comedy at its heart.
He thought it was a hardcore character study. He literally refers to it as that in one of the interviews I read. And it's
because the way that I receive this movie is this is a comedy of the blackest kind.
That is a charitable read, I think. It's there. I think it's justifiable.
Because I do think this movie is very funny.
There are funny moments. There are moments where I laughed out loud.
Yeah. So yeah, on Thanksgiving morning, Harry watches the Macy's Thanksgiving parade on TV alone in his apartment.
And like, just him looking at him watching the Thanksgiving Day parade, it's just grim as hell.
It's him in this like depressing.
Yeah.
In spite of all of the Christmas decorations, like the way that he has been sort of set up to this point is the only way that you can look at that apartment in spite of all the Christmas cheer around him is like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah. It's like, if you stripped away the Christmas decorations, you'd understand why Jeffrey DeMunn killed himself in that picture. But then Harry puts on his Edgar Winter wig and all is right with the world again.
Yeah. And he's watching this thing. He's anticipating the arrival of Santa Claus. Back at home, Harry's brother resists his wife's urge to have Harry come over for Thanksgiving.
But like he aggressively resists it. He's just like, you bitch, stop
he's having
talking
such
to
a
me
fun
about
time
this.
with like the family, and she's like, he never misses this. Like, why don't you call him? And he's like, God damn it, leave me alone. I'm so sick of this guy's bullshit.
Yeah.
So Harry calls up to cancel, spends the day trying on his self-made Santa wig and costume while a montage of New York prepping for the holidays runs.
Is this where he puts the beard on?
Yeah. No. Well, he puts the beard on later, a little later on, like when he fully goes nuts.
This is when he starts painting that Santa on the van. And I thought, well, you could be painting like a sweet wizard or a dragon on there. But you chose Santa instead.
You got a Santa
that's
sleigh.
why you're a loser.
Yeah. In the garage, Harry paints Santa's sleigh on the side of his van while reciting to himself the gifts that he plans to deliver to the children as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I don't want to know what those are.
Well, we see him making them. Like, he makes an actual tin soldier.
Oh, yeah, because metalsmithing, not a thing you should do in your apartment. Just FYI, everybody, not something you should do at home.
So, the next day, Harry walks home with his groceries. The neighborhood kids greet him and ask him what he wishes for. They ask him what he wishes for a strange question. He uses it to gauge what the kids want for Christmas. Once again, Boss Garcia is an asshole.
Yeah, he's like, I want sex. I want
horniest 8-year-old in the world.
He is. He's just like, I want latest of We. I want the latest Penthouse.
I want Swank magazine.
Yeah, he's like, I want some of those great old loops from the early 20th century.
Bring me a Nickelodeon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when that happens, then Harry scampers off home. He got to write his book like a fucking lunatic.
Yeah. At home, Harry talks to a picture of a little girl in the neighborhood who as noted before in a book of good girls and boys, just adorable.
Yeah.
Definitely not creepy at all.
I don't like this. I feel like it might be a little bit better if that girl was dead.
Right. He's just speaking to the only remnant of him.
Yeah, like this is the last. Like this is a fragment of his mind That's the one good part that's left.
Yep. And we hear like off screen, we hear her voice.
Yeah, but finally she's like, kill them all, Harry. So then he gets to the Moss Garcia page, and my favorite is one of the reasons he's on the naughty list is because he picks his nose. Jesus, Harry.
I know. This is some
a really high bar.
By night, Harry sneaks over to Moss's house and watches him through the window again.
This scene is fucking insane.
It's crazy because I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if anybody knows what he's doing. Harry
this is that Strasbourg method right here.
I know. He smears mud on his face and then smears his face on the side of the house.
But he like presses like he's leaving an impression.
Yeah.
And we will sort of come back to this a little bit later, I guess.
Right.
But also it has like a weird Apocalypse Now kind of feel to it. Like at first you're like, does he think that he's like going undercover in the bushes?
But yeah, no, I don't.
No, he just rubs his face on the house.
Yep.
Like
he's
a weirdo.
Marking it. He's marking him for death.
He should have peed on it. I would have understood that better.
Right. Moss's mom picks up the kid and ushers him out the door to go wherever it is that they need to go. But he spots Harry hiding in the bushes and inches over to get a better look.
Now, look, here's the thing. If you did not grow up in the 80s, everybody, this scene will not make sense to you at all. But like Moss, he sees him. Like he sees his face, his weird fucking Martin Sheen coming out of the water with the black shit on his face. He sees him coming out of the bushes. And he doesn't say anything to anybody.
No, absolutely the most normal shit in the world.
Yeah. Whereas now, it would be like, hey, there's a fucking guy in our bushes. Why is nobody doing anything about the guy in the bushes? Why is this happening?
Yeah. Finding nothing, Harry sneaks up behind him, tries to grab him, which scares him away.
It is a very, very unnerving moment in this movie.
Yeah, it is. Because like he lurches out of the bushes with all this black shit smeared on his face.
Yeah.
And then the kid runs back to his mom, who just whacks him upside the head.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she's like, get in the car, you little faggot. Well, she didn't say that, but like, it's that vibe.
Kind of. Yeah, some out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day,
Except it's the mom from Home Improvement.
That's it. That's who it is, too. Yeah. Next day, he resumes his Santa Claus work, making tin soldiers in his garage. In contrast to the cheap plastic toys, he makes a Jolly Dream. Also, the soundtrack is crazy as hell here.
The soundtrack to this entire movie is very, very strange. And I do own it. I don't listen to it much because it is a 10-inch record and it's not very good. But
I would imagine that listening, it's not a terribly good thing to listen to on its own because it's like warped tape loops and like fucked up it is the sort of audio interior of Harry's head, which is just like warped Christmas music playing at the wrong speed and shit.
Yeah, it's a soundscape. It's not a straight up score.
Yeah, but I do like it because there are parts where I'm like, oh shit, this is it serves the scene very well.
Yeah, every now and then it kicks in a way that I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Go on.
So at work, he neatens himself up in the mirror in his locker, making Santa Claus faces before brushing his hand over his face to assume a more stern expression.
It's that. Do you remember that scene in Bamboozled with Tommy? I think it's Tommy Davidson. He's like, he's sort of calling out Damon Wayans for like selling everybody out. And he just does that. He does the same thing. Where he like, I don't think it's an acting trick or whatever, but like
it's like he's wiping the expression off his face.
Yeah, and it's like, that's what it reminded me of, was that moment.
So now at work, he heads out to join his coworkers, the company Christmas party.
Yeah, how much do you think they paid for the rights to this James Brown Christmas song? I'm going to guess $0. I'm going to guess nothing a month.
I think we can swing it.
Mm-hmm.
A video plays on the TV of the Jolly Dream owner pictured in some tropical climate while his employees gather in this cramped wood-paneled nightmare of a function room.
So this is the part where I was like, I feel like he's trying to say something about capitalism in America in this moment, because this is the moment when capitalism really takes over America, like in a huge way, because the Republicans basically strip away any protections.
Yeah.
And it does feel like it, but again, it's another one of those moments where you're like, you know what? Move on.
Yeah.
No time for
Or
this.
rather, the producers were like, ooh, no. We can't have any of this anti-capitalist stuff. They were
Yeah,
like
it's like-
offended by it and stripped it out.
It's like the time that I wrote this chapter for a book, and then the editor was like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing! I love this. This is my favorite one in the whole book." And they sent it to the publisher or to like have it finalized, and they were like, "Oh no, we can't have this in the book." They called it unduly provocative. Now, personally, I thought it was duly provocative, but they were like, "Yeah, we have customers in certain parts of the country who might be offended by that."
Oh no.
Yeah. What parts do you think they were talking about?
I don't know. I have no context for this whatsoever.
Yeah, it's the South and the Midwest.
Oh, fuck them.
Yeah.
No, don't. I mean, we got listeners there. But I know.
I was not provoking anybody.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So the CEO there explains that they're giving some toys to the local state school and urges his employees to dig deep and increase production to cover the deficit, donate some of their money to the project. Harry's coworkers,
Sleazy. Really, really sleazy.
yes. Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, he's basically like hairy chest, shirt buttoned like down to his fucking navel, like gold chains on and shit.
Yeah, 100 years ago, I worked at a homeless shelter, and I remember we were in a meeting one day, and it was like, it was, one of these, like, it might have been December or November or whatever. And it was like, oh, you employees, the organization will donate to the United Way. And you are all also encouraged to donate to the United Way. And I remember my friend Laura went after the meeting. She went to our boss and she was like, how dare you? These people make like $8 an hour and you are asking them to give their money to charity?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've also worked at places where like the CEOs, like the company owners are just like completely out of touch rich guys who like have no idea what like everybody else's life is like. And they're like, we're going to throw a few cents at here. Why don't the rest of you like, chip in, like really dig deep. But it's like, man, fuck you guys. Like you make in an hour what I make in a fucking year. So like, stop. So let's see. The guy playing the Jolly Dream Boss is the movie's producer, Burt Kleiner, who fought with Jackson endlessly about the movie during production. He died mid-production, and according to Jackson, people who attended his funeral were gifted his ashes in a little cocaine bottle.
That is insane.
Yes, it is.
Also, that is how I want to be cremated.
One of his coworkers busts chops about covering that dude's shift. And then Harry makes some cryptic remarks that sound a little like a threat as he's introduced to a new young executive who takes credit for the state school plan as a publicity stunt.
Now, this is when they're talking about the state school, are they talking about Willowbrook?
Yes, because that guy
thought.
that they keep showing is supposed to be like Geraldo Rivera.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Which I'm about to say. On TV, a report about the same state school plays in the style of Geraldo Rivera's Willowbrook State School expose, which aired in 1972 and shocked everybody who watched it.
It is still incredibly shocking.
And
Don't watch the video.
Unbelievably upsetting.
Yeah, do not watch the video. It is very upsetting to see, but holy shit.
Yeah. Harry is repulsed and storms out of the party as the party gets crazier and more frenzied. On his way out, he robs the factory, stealing toys off the factory floor and fills some bags with dirt.
Now I'm finally on board with what Harry's doing.
Definitely. Steal from work.
Corporate theft, 100% on board.
Oh, nothing wrong with that. It is
if you're listening to this right now,
morally right to do.
I hope you're stealing from your boss right at this moment. Unless your boss is a decent person trying to do something cool, in which case, knock it off.
Yeah. Cut him a break.
Yeah.
Now, at home, he glues the beard to his face.
In what is, I'm assuming, a moment to be like, oh, he's finally gone over the edge.
Yeah, because he's like stroking it lovingly and like pulling on it, like to make sure it doesn't come off. And he's like crying with joy at this transformation.
There are moments in this where you can tell that Brandon Maggart was a stage actor because he just like when he's doing the stretching at the beginning of the movie, like you can tell he's going big a lot of the time because he's accustomed to going very big.
Yeah.
For the back row.
So now we cut to Christmas Eve. Harry heads out, breaking into people's houses.
I would like to point out they skipped over an entire fucking month.
Yeah.
Which, again, maybe they shouldn't have, because there seems like there was probably some critically important stuff in there.
No time. We got a horror movie to make. Cut to Christmas Eve. Harry heads out, breaking into people's houses, leaving presents behind. He is fully in Santa mode now, in wig, beard, mustache, eyebrows, red suit, the whole nine. He looks awesome. That costume is fucking awesome. At Moss Garcia's house,
he looks a bit like a dandy. He looks like a dandy.
He does, and it's a fancy suit that he made himself. At Moss Garcia's house, he leaves behind a big bag of dirt, and then he drives over to Willowy Springs State School.
Oh, well, so this is what I was going to say before, is he puts a note, he brings the bag of dirt, and puts it on the steps of the house, but he puts a note that says for Moss, and it has that impression that he makes on the house with his face in his hands. It's on the note too.
Yes. But it's like a crudely drawn version of it, like a child drew it.
Yeah, like no 8-year-old is going to be like, oh shit, it's that fucking guy. He's going to be like, who the hell left me a bag of dirt? The fuck?
He rings the bell at the state school and is soon greeted by the night watchman, who gives him hell, but Santa wins him over with a gift.
I don't know. No, Harry, you can't just show up at the home for disturbed children in the middle of the night and come inside. Your pitch could use some work too.
The watchman goes back in and leaves Santa to try out his various renditions of Merry Christmas while he waits, getting bigger and bigger until he finds one that works.
But he does, so when he's doing all of this, like his voice has this almost like put the fucking lotion in the basket urgency to it, where it's just like, you need to calm down. You are giving yourself away as a complete lunatic.
Yep. And then miraculously it begins to snow, and the hospital staff comes out to greet him and are fully won over by his spirit and generosity. And now he drives away and makes his way to a church, which is holding a midnight mass. He stops and waits for them to come out. One of his toy soldiers perched ominously on his shoulder.
So this is where the movie gets, again, it feels like we're speeding ahead and we've missed something very important. Because how we go from toy theft to shocking act of violence is a very wild escalation.
That's the thing, is I kept wondering, I was like, are we supposed to be familiar with these
people? Do we know who these people are? Because it's the people, they come out of church and just out of nowhere, these guys are being total dicks to him.
The woman's name in the credits is Binky.
Well,
yep. And one of the guys is one of the guys he murders, his name is Khaki.
Okay. So again, I feel like we're trying to say something here, but whatever it was got lost between Thanksgiving Day parade and Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't know why these dudes are being such total assholes to him. Like, if I came out of church, they launch
immediately. Like, their first thought at seeing a guy dressed in an elaborate Santa costume is, hey, let's fuck with this guy.
Yeah, if I came out of church and saw that and this fucking dude in his weird ass janky van, I'd be like, we should call somebody. I don't know who, but someone needs to be called right now.
As Mass gets out, he's harassed by the shithead yuppies, and he stabs one of them in the eye with the sword of the tin soldier.
It's awesome.
Yes. And then with the festive hatchet, he hacks 3 more to death on the street in front of the crowd and takes off in his van.
It might be the best part of the whole movie.
It's a flagship moment. Before we cut to the next scene, the camera lingers on the bodies while warped tape of Christmas music is playing.
It's almost like that scene, you know, in the scene in The Godfather where everything's like falling to shit. The scene in the steps, and it's like that, where it's just like everything is in chaos and turmoil.
Yeah. So Santa drives away frantically, eventually chilling out when it seems like no one is coming for him. He pulls over, closes his eyes, but nearby Christmas music catches his attention. He goes to check it out and finds a neighborhood Christmas party in swing.
Just looking through the window again. Nothing weird about that. What I do love, though, is that one of the couples in there is doing what appears to be the tango to Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
Very classy.
Yeah, a couple of partygoers spot him looking through the window. They go out and grab him, pulling him into the party. A dark countenance comes over him, so the partygoers close on him, thrilled to see him, including some kids.
Like, why does everybody keep seeing this dude dressed as Santa Claus? And their instinct is to manhandle him and drag him inside.
Well,
instead of like going to the other side of the street.
In this case, it does feel a little natural because they're all in that party mood. Everybody's probably a little drunk and they just see Santa Claus like looking in the window. They're like, oh, we got to bring this guy in here. Like, this is like the time I went to a company Christmas party and I found me and my friend found an ice sculpture out on the balcony. And our first instinct was to try and lift it up and throw it off the balcony.
Okay, but that's what you call the death drive. That is the instinct to destroy. But this is just like everyone's instinct is like, hey, it's Santa Claus. Let's put our arms around him and just nuzzle up to his neck.
Yep. So now the cops arrive back at the church to investigate while Santa parties down with the polka band at the party.
Mm-hmm. And there's that weird moment where he's just like, if you're bad, boys and girls, I'll bring you something horrible. Yes. And then everybody laughs and laughs.
Yeah, which breaks the tension because everybody for a moment is like, what? Yeah, so the party goes dead quiet until he breaks tension and then he takes off into the night. In the van, he imagines himself driving his reindeer, getting even crazier than before. He remembers that shithead from work that steamrolled him into working for him. He drives over to his house and climbs up onto the rooftop with the help of a ladder.
Yeah, because he's like, well, I'm already halfway there. Let's just do this. This is what this has been all about.
Yeah. He at first tries to climb into the chimney, but he gets stuck.
Which this is where the movie could have hilariously ended.
just like roll credits rolling over him, like struggling to get out of the chimney.
And then like you hear a siren just kind of faintly in the background.
No music, just him grunting.
And some blue lights on the house.
Yeah. It takes some work to pull himself out. He carefully climbs back down, opting instead to enter the house through an unlocked basement window.
So this is one of those moments where it's like, this is a comedic moment. Like this is an intentionally funny moment in this otherwise extremely strange film.
Yeah. So he quietly sneaks through the house, leaves some presents for the kids under the tree. Alarmed by the sound of Santa tripping over some shit, the kids sneak down and spot him leaving the presents, but vanish when he turns his attention on them. And when he sneaks by their bedroom, he sees them asleep in their bed, leaving us to wonder if that even happened or if it was in his head.
Oh, I assumed it happened. I assume they're just sort of like, oh, we have to hide in bed or he won't leave stuff for us. Because the police are talking to them later.
Because in my read of the way that this movie sort of unravels towards the end is he's just getting crazier and crazier. Like, I'm not convinced, like in that scene where he goes into the neighborhood and it's just the streets are lined with decorations. I'm not convinced that that's real. You know, I think that's just what he sees.
I think that's a fair read, but that's my problem with the movie as a whole is like, you're not committing to anything enough that I can understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And again, it's probably all a problem of editing.
Yeah, right. Cause like this was probably a coherent movie when it was shot. And when it was cut, they were like, we need to get rid of all this artsy fartsy bullshit. We're making a horror movie here.
But like when you take all of that out, I don't know what any of this is.
I know. I mean, it's the curse of exploitation is like, there was probably a good movie that made sense here. And it was just butchered by people who were like, no. We're making something like Halloween here.
It's not going to be a good movie because it's Santa Claus.
Right. So now he sneaks down to Frank's room, the dude who pushed him around at work. He smothers him in his bed with a sack of toys.
So great. This is probably the best moment of the whole movie. However, I will say, I'm pretty sure Frank's wife would have woken up at this point. But also,
she is sleeping like 6 feet away from him in that bed too.
Also, not even 6 feet. Like, but I understand we're supposed to feel tension in this moment, but I just cannot get over how absolutely disgustingly ugly the interior of their house is.
Yeah.
It's all I can focus on.
Oh, I know. The interiors of all these places are incredibly fucking depressing. Like,
yeah, remember the 80s? Remember how hot and cool the 80s were? All the neon colors? Nope. This is what the 80s looked like.
Every room that this movie is shot in also has like a drop ceiling that makes it feel like the ceiling of the room is like inches above your head in any scene. Like, it's just, everything is so cramped. It's like you're in the half floor from fucking Being John Malkovich.
Yes.
The whole place every room is just oppressive. And so, yeah, the smothering is taking too long. Santa reaches for a nearby star ornament and slashes Frank's throat with it. Frank falls down on his wife, who screams like crazy as Santa takes off for another destination.
He does. He prances out of the house again, panicked prancing out of the house. At this point, it's his signature move.
So at Harry's brother's house, they're all worried about Harry's absence. He's always there for Christmas. On TV, there's a news report with their Geraldo impersonator reporting on the Santa Claus murders. His brother Philip laments the burden of being responsible for his weirdo brother and starts to worry that the killer Santa is his brother.
Yeah, Philip is not worried about his brother. He's just like, this son of a bitch. Why is he doing this to me? And we as the viewer are like, I don't know what's happening. What is he doing?
Yep. In the morning, Harry wakes up in the back of his van in the Jolly Dream parking lot. He enters the factory and handles the toys on the line, easily breaking them, and fires up the conveyor belts, happily watching the toys roll off the line and smash on the floor. At the police station, the cops do a lineup of dudes in Santa costumes in front of the church witnesses. The cops talk about how the New York is central to the Santa Claus myth, how the Dutch brought him over with him when they colonized the island, how Washington Irving, whose satirical history of New York turned this fairly minor cultural detail of the Dutch into a major piece of American mythology.
Interestingly, so first of all, this group of degenerate Santas is really off-putting. But I love this conservative cop who's just like, children have it too easy in 1980. And I bring this up because while I was flipping through old newspapers in 1980, I came across an advice column. This is about to be a really dark moment, by the way, everybody. I came across an advice like a Dear Abby kind of thing, and it was like, dear whoever the fuck the lady was, my dad has been abusing me since I was 8 years old, and now my sister is also this age, and I think he is abusing her. What should I do? And so then the cops just like, these kids have it too easy. I was like, man, fuck you.
Oh my God. Oh, I hope the advice to that girl was murder your dad.
No, you want to know what the advice was?
Oh no, sure.
Talk to your priest.
No.
Yep.
I hope the priest's advice was murder your dad. God.
Yeah, the priest's advice was probably just like, well, we're going to have to take your dad. We're going to move him to the other side of the country. Okay. He's going to get remarried. They're going to have kids. This is going to start again, just so you know. And you should never say a word to anybody. But bump the 1980s.
So at home, Harry calls his brother Philip, gives him crazy spiel about the tune he's been talking about the whole movie. Again, I get the feeling that this whole, like, I know the tune, I know how to play the tune thing is something that was probably explained in scenes that got cut.
I feel like at this point, I am on Louis Jackson's side fully.
Yeah. So it's not really clear what he's talking about. It's crazy person stuff. And then off he goes into the night in his van, driving his imaginary reindeer until he runs into a snowbank and gets stuck. He finds himself in a neighborhood magically decorated for Christmas with elaborate lighted props. Harry becoming more and more unhinged. It makes it hard to know if what we're seeing is real. That's my point about that right there. Is I feel like none of this shit is really happening.
So it's
all just sort of taking place in his head.
He makes a bunch of allusions in some cases, explicit statements about how he sees this as being a lot more like Frankenstein. And this is why I think he thinks that.
Yeah. So by the full moon, he wanders deeper into the neighborhood, finding more of the props set up on every porch.
Because this part is absolutely out of hand.
This is the scene when this happened, I was like, oh shit, I love this movie.
Yeah, it is wild. It is like a scene from another movie.
He is suddenly accosted by a group of children. Their parents aren't far behind, but instead of the delight Harry encountered the night before, now everyone is worried that he's the killer. Harry produced some toys for the kids while one of the parents advances on him with a knife.
A switchblade. The guy takes out a switchblade.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to kill Santa Claus right here, right now.
I know. In the 1980s, everybody had a fucking switchblade.
And you would just kill Santas everywhere you went.
As the encounter intensifies, the neighbors come out and watch as the angry dude with a knife approaches. And the kids defend Santa, and he pleads with the parents as to let it go. When the knife guy's daughter runs at him to get him to stop, they struggle, and his wife gets in on the action. He drops the knife. The little girl picks it.
His wife is Mommy Dearest.
Yes, that's who it is.
Yeah.
And so the little girl picks it up and gives it to Santa, who tries to run away. He gets away, but not before one of the parents stabs him in the face with a brooch.
This woman, who appears to be in some sort of fugue state, reaches up very casually. It takes out her brooch and stabs him in the face with it.
Yeah. She got her activation command from the fucking Catcher in the Rye.
It looks like she is just like gone.
Yeah.
She is from Willowbrook.
As Harry runs, the tenor of the movie switches dramatically. It's suddenly all high contrast shadows and canted angles as Harry runs through alleys to get away. A mob is formed of people literally raising torches and pitchforks as they chase him through the street.
Yeah. It's do you remember the Great Mutato episode of X-Files?
Yes.
It has that kind of ending where all of a sudden it's just like has this very comic booky moment where they're leading a mob full of like people with torches after the guy. And it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Harry starts to break down as he runs, eventually catching the attention of the mob. He gets back to his van and manages to break free of the snowbank, evading the mob for good.
This is when you start to see the snow is really just like a sheet of fluffy fabric.
Right. Yeah. So he drives to Philip's place and he owes up to his crimes. He tries to explain his mission, which he admits was a failure. In his madness, he misunderstands the mob reaction as a rejection of Santa Claus and lays it on Philip, who is always trying to steer him away from his weird obsession.
Maybe he is. Who's to say?
I know. In his anger, Philip begins strangling Harry, but lets him go as he passes out.
And of all the times that Philip's wife is like, you gotta be nice to him, she just stands there and watches this happen. Like, all right, come on. If you're going to intervene at any point.
Yeah. Then he drags him outside, puts him back in his van. Harry wakes up in the driver's seat as Philip is consumed with dread. He punches his brother suddenly and drives off, once again encountering the mob.
It's a little bit like the moment when he reaches out from the bushes at Moss's house, where like you don't really see this coming and it's very jarring.
Yeah. Harry narrowly avoids the torch mob and veers off the side of a bridge as Philip chases after him, falling down a hill of very clearly fake sheets of prop snow.
And just bringing all of those sheets with him as he rolls. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't get to the bottom of the hill just wrapped up, like burritoed up in them.
He got rolled up in it all the way down.
There's no second takes on this movie. You know that.
Yeah. So Philip recovers and turns to see what appears to be Harry's van taking flight and flying into the night.
Because why not?
Well, here's the thing is when he drives off the side of the bridge, you do hear the van crash.
Yes.
But that's not what everybody sees. Philip sees this, and then we kind of like cut to the interior of the car as he's like, I'm flying, like that kind of thing. And then it's just like miniature of the van, just like flying towards the moon.
And it looks real dumb.
It does. Fade to black, roll credits.
Holy shit.
Yeah. What a fucking finale.
I have a lot of what I now feel are very complicated feelings about this movie. I see that there is something in this. Like, I think the acting in this movie is very good. Well, I think Bryan and Maggart is very good. I think Jeffrey DeMunn is unhinged.
He is arguably crazier than his brother.
Yeah. And there's something here that could have been really good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not. Like,
I think that's what lies at the core of my fascination with it is there is suggestions and glimmers of something that is of an entirely different movie. And it's enough for me to sort of like let my imagination kind of run wild with, but I still do like what we got. It's a movie that is fighting with itself to be two different things. It is a director's vision clashing with a producer's drive to make money.
Yeah.
And it definitely suffers for that because there are just these like narrative gaps that you could drive a car through.
Because the result is that you have a movie that makes very little sense on its face, and it is baffling in a way that you're like, I'm super intrigued, but I'm also annoyed.
Yeah, I can see that. But as a single character piece, Brandon Maggart is amazing.
He is very good.
So good in this movie. He's given a really strange task of playing a person who is just actively losing their fucking mind.
I think what I can't get past is the Santa Claus of it all. is that you chose, I understand what he's doing, and he wanted something big and whimsical and historical, but you chose something that to most people, unfortunately, is this sort of like untouchable bullshit. But like also it is so silly that there needs to be a better vehicle for what you're doing. And I don't know what that vehicle is. I've got nothing off the top of my head, like, because you need something that's big and fantastical. But to be like, it's Santa Claus, I think that's immediately what made producers go, oh, we can just chop this shit up and make it a Grindhouse movie.
Yeah.
Because if he had chosen something else, and again, I don't know what that something is, but like something a little more serious, like the fact that he chooses Santa Claus and Christmas, it automatically takes it down several like rungs on the ladder where they're like, oh, this is just some dumb bullshit. Because I think you're right. At its core, he actually is doing something kind of interesting. We just don't ever really get to see it because it all gets lost in this stupid Santa slasher movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again, it's not.
Right.
It's not that. It's a very, very interesting movie. I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, it's not really a horror movie.
No.
It's got some horror. It's definitely has horror touches that were definitely added after producers were like, yeah, we'll make this movie. But it's gotta be like this. It's gotta have a body count, shit like that. Apparently, like when he put it in front, when the script went in front of like people at Warner Brothers, they were like, you need to have this guy cut a child's finger off and eat it in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I don't think you guys understand what I'm doing here. So see ya.
And maybe that's part of the problem too, is that, you look at what other people are doing at the time. Like, do I think Francis Ford Coppola and Oliver Stone and Joe Dante and all Jonathan Demme wanted to make these fucking schlocky, dumb shit movies? Of course not. They understood that like that's the path you take. Like you're paying your dues by making these stupid fucking movies. Even if you have some grandiose vision, they're going to chop it up and turn it into a drive-in fare no matter what. And that's just the path you have to take to get to make Silence of the Lambs or, Apocalypse Now. Like, you don't get to just make it out of the fucking gate. Nobody did back then.
Yeah. Okay. I can see where you're going with that.
And he just seemed like he didn't want to do that. Like, he thought maybe he was a little bit better than that.
Yeah. Like, he had no room for that compromise that you absolutely have to make.
Right.
In order to sort of move to the next step and make a good movie.
Because he could have made something really cool a couple of years later. He was just unwilling to play the game. And I have a little bit of respect for that too, because I'm, that I have that streak in me as well.
Sure.
But it doesn't get you very far.
No, it just makes you frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth a watch. Like, this is usually where I ask you if it holds up. It doesn't. This movie is ridiculous in every single way. It's interesting, but
yeah, like I've got like holiday horror movies that I watch, every year. Like I watch Black Christmas every year. I watch Silent Night, Deadly Night, but like, this is definitely not one of those movies that I'm going to sort of like make a habit out of.
No. No, but hey, if people want, I think you still got a chance. The American Genre Film Association, is that what it's called? American Genre Film?
AGFA? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Archive, American Genre Film Archive. They're still doing the Black Christmas tour, taking that around to 4K in the theaters. Get out and see that instead of this. Go to the theater and see that movie if you want a Christmas movie.
But also see this movie because it's well worth your time.
This shit has to be on Tubi at this point.
It must be. I had to look kind of hard for it because I missed the opportunity to get the Vinegar Syndrome one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But anyway,
there she is.
There it is. So where are we going next?
Well, next week, as you said, we are closing out the year with our takes on the best, worst, and of 2024 horror. And then in 2 weeks, 99-Cent Rental will return with the unintentionally hilarious classic, Mommy Dearest.
Yes. Yeah, we're marking our first anniversary of 99-Cent Rental with the movie that we took our horror movie show's name from.
And am I going to do the Please Barbara Please impression? Absolutely.
Oh, it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. If you're going to clean the floor, you have to move the plant.
Oh shit, it's going to be great.
I
All
love
right.
that movie.
All right. So we'll see you in a week with hot takes that I'm sure you're going to fucking disagree with.
Yep.
And we'll see you in 2 with Mommy Dearest.
Hey-oh.